and welcome to For the Record. The country is in the middle of a national cleanup campaign. It's called the Clean Up Fiji campaign and simultaneously the Fight the Bite campaign. The issue is so important that the Prime Minister and the President himself have come on board to encourage all Fijians to clean up their surroundings, clean up their environment to prevent the spread of mosquito-borne diseases. To talk more about this issue and what the risks and dangers are for Fijians, we have in studio with us two guests from the Health Ministry. I am joined by the Chief Health Inspector, Mr. Deep Chand, and the Media Liaison Officer for the Health Ministry, Mr. Sunil Chandra, who will be speaking with us over the course of the next hour or so. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being on the show. Welcome to For the Record. Let's start things off by talking about the two campaigns that exist, the Clean Up Fiji campaign and Fight the Bite campaign, launched by the Prime Minister himself, and the first actual on-the-ground cleanup was launched by President Major General Chochi Konrote. Let's separate Clean Up Fiji and Fight the Bite. How are the two different?
Thank you, Edwin. The Fight the Bite campaign is basically the Clean Up Fiji. We need to clean whole of Fiji to avoid the vectors of disease like the two very important mosquitoes, that is Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, to bite the citizens of Fiji in terms of spreading the dengue fever, the chikungunya and the Zika virus. So that is why we have given this theme, the Fight the Bite campaign, which is basically cleaning the whole of Fiji towards avoiding this communicable disease that is bothering us at the moment.
Mr. Chandra, talking about the campaign itself, what sort of response do we need from Fijians on the ground to make these two campaigns a success?
As it is, we have asked people to come on board with the Health Ministry, because the Health Ministry alone cannot complete the exercise. So we are requesting people to come up and help us clean the whole of Fiji, so that we can destroy all the mosquito breeding grounds.
When we talk about cleaning up, people would be going into their compound, picking up pieces of rubbish and whatnot, and just trying to make their yard look cleaner. But really, that's not the intention here, is it? There's a lot more that goes into this.
Yeah, I mean, the main purpose for this national cleanup campaign is a multiplier effect. It's the number one is that we need to get rid of this communicable disease in terms of the vector-borne diseases. As I have said, that the two most common mosquitoes that spread these three diseases is the Aedes aegypti mosquito and the Aedes albopictus, and these two mosquitoes are urbanized mosquitoes. They love to stay around people and within our premises. So number one, we need to clean our own houses, our own premises, our own compound, including the community that we live, including the our workplaces, our commercial areas, our industrial areas, to eliminate all the breeding grounds of these two mosquitoes. And we have to know that these two mosquitoes love to stay around us. They love to feed on human blood, and that's why they are called mostly a domesticated mosquitoes. They love to stay around us, and they breed within where the human beings live. So number one is that we need to clean our compound, our surrounding, our community, including all those areas that we have access to. And number two is the aesthetics part of it. Who doesn't like clean environment? Who doesn't like to live in a healthy environment? We need to portray ourselves to be a place where people can live, leisure and age with dignity. We need to see that wherever we live, the aesthetics of that area is such that it is inviting. It is inviting not to only our visitors from abroad, but also to our common people that we share and live along all this while in Fiji. So the main purpose of this is not only to get the mosquito breeding. It can be a holistic approach to see how best we can get rid of all the trash, all the rubbish that is around us, on the highways, on the sides of the streets and parks, and everywhere you can think about. So we need to clean Fiji to reflect that Fiji is the way the world should be.
So that ties into my next question, Sunil, to you. The point that's been made that it's not just the rubbish and the damage that's been lying around after TC Winston that needs to be cleaned up. Areas that weren't affected by Winston are some of the high-risk areas, and this is a national campaign, not just for people in cyclone-affected parts of Fiji. How did it come to this stage?
Because the simple reason is mosquitoes can breed anywhere, and this is not only after the cyclone that we are doing the cleanup. We have done the cleanup in the previous years, and this is just another national launch of the cleanup. The idea behind this is just to destroy all mosquito breeding grounds, as I've said earlier. So whether it's a cyclone affected area or whether it's a non-cyclone affected area, we are treating this as a national campaign, and it should be distributed everywhere in every place of Fiji.
Obviously, it's quite a concern and an urgent issue for the government, so much so that even through this show we are trying to raise awareness and get people on board. The Prime Minister has come on board, and he's leading the campaign of sorts. But for the ministry, this is a question to both gentlemen. How are you coordinating this national effort?
Thank you, Edwin. We have a steering committee which is headed by the Minister of Health and Medical Services. Our permanent secretary is the chair, and this has been endorsed by the cabinet, that the steering committee headed by the PS Minister of Health and Medical Services with all other government ministries, civil society, NGOs and the communities to see how best we can organize our communities, our individuals to get involved in this cleanup campaign. We have a series of meetings at headquarters to mobilize the community. How best we can influence those who can influence others to get involved in this cleanup campaign. We have been very optimistic, and we have been saying all along, Edwin, that we have about 838,000 plus people in this country. And then we if we call in terms of adults, we have somewhere around 600,000 more adults in this country. If each individual takes in incentive to pick 10 receptacles or 10 rubbish within this period, I think Fiji will be one of the cleanest place in the world. So this is our message, that we need to mobilize. We are requesting every individual, every responsible citizens of this country to come on board and make a consolidated effort so that we get rid of all this rubbish and all these vector breeding receptacles that are around us, so that we clean Fiji. We put up a fight that against these mosquitoes, which we have already said, that fight the bite, and then we get rid of these diseases that are bothering us. We clean Fiji in terms of aesthetics, and also to have a national pride in terms of ownership of our country.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk more about what are some of the risks if people don't come on board. But right now we have to take a break. We'll be back shortly. Good evening, welcome back to the show. We're talking about the cleanup campaign and Fight the Bite, the campaigns by the Health Ministry to eradicate mosquito breeding places. Before the break, we talked quite at length about why we need to do this. Sunil, I'm interested in how the ministry is reaching out to the community. What sort of measures have you taken to ensure that people get the message and get involved in these campaigns?
Yes, we have through our media, we have informed people. We have made IEC materials that we have sent, posters and stickers around, and as you can see, there's a poster here which says there, and what harm does it do the mosquitoes if they are present. So we have printed it out, we have sent it through the media, and Of course, we are going through radio stations, we are having talkback shows and telling people the need to do the cleanup. So, and our health inspectors are, as Mr. Chan has said earlier, they are in the field, they are with the people, and the information is spread. And that's how we reach people. So all the cleanup that are being done at the moment, people are coming, and we have seen through our messages that people are attending those cleanup campaigns.
So, what sort of messages are you getting, Mr. Chand? What are people saying? Are they involved already? Are they starting a cleanup, or do they want more information? What sort of responses are you seeing?
Okay, thank you, Edwin. So far, we have a very positive response from people. This is the first week of the campaign after the Honorable Prime Minister has launched, and the rollout that was done this Monday by His Excellency the President. So far we have a very tremendous support from, especially for the all government ministries, and we also have good support from the people down on the ground, especially the villages, the people in the settlements, and the districts that represent us down there. Northern Division is organizing a collective with under the umbrella of the Commissioner Northern. Respective ministries in Suva are very eager to take on the challenge. We have developed a micro plan in regards to how the ministries can come on board, how the communities can come on board, which area, where, when, and how they can do those cleanup campaigns, which has been disseminated to the communities and to the respective NGOs and the community leaders to be involved. So this is something very exciting for the first week, and the way that response is coming, I think if this support continues until 16th of June, then I think we will reach our goal of eliminating all vector breeding grounds within Fiji.
Yeah. The risks if people don't cooperate. Of course, you've mentioned during the course of the show that there is dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika, which are priorities for the ministry. But if at the end of this campaign people haven't reacted efficiently and mosquitoes continue to breed, what are the risks that Fijians face in the community?
The risk of getting sick from these diseases is one of them, that we may not be able to achieve what we have targeted during the cleanup campaign. So I would like to emphasize here the risk of eliminating the mosquito will remain there, and the risk of getting rid of these diseases will remain there. However, I would like to emphasize here, Edwin, that after this cleanup campaign, if people still do not cooperate or come on board in terms of what our intentions are, and there are enforcements within the laws of Fiji under the Public Health Act that we will litigate. We will prosecute people who still continue to offend in terms of having or harboring breeding grounds within their premises, including residential, industrial, commercial, or residential premises.
Is that a decision that has been made, or is that a possibility if things don't improve? I understand the law exists. Yes. There are provisions there, but applying the law, are you decided that this is a step that will need to be taken?
Exactly, Edwin. We have prosecuted people already in the past who have offended, who have not followed the instructions of the ministry and the campaigns that we have already done. And this is the another campaign. And after that, if people continue to have breeding grounds within their compounds or within the jurisdiction of where people live, then the litigation will follow.
Sunil, would you be able to highlight who is responsible for the various divisions? Say, for example, we take one community in Nasino. There is an industrial area, there is a section that is under the control of the town council, and there is a residential area. So how does that work? Who takes care of what?
I think Mr.
Chan.
Thank you, Edwin. I think in all municipal councils and city council, the council is responsible within the jurisdiction of the councils, and they have organized their own campaigns within their municipalities, and the individual residential owners have to take ownership of their own residential blocks, and similarly the business communities and their individual business premises, they need to take care of their own. So the campaign is such that they need to bring all their rubbish to the collection sites, and then councils will respectively deploy their trucks and manpower to take it to the dumping sites at the Namboro landfill. So these are the individual responsibility of individuals. However, we have seen that there are groups who would also like to come and clean those areas which are sort of a public place, which are not owned by individuals, or some organizations which would also like to enter those areas which need to be cleaned up. So these are all taken care by the councils, and then people are encouraged to bring all their rubbish to the allocated areas where council has already advertised or broadcasted, so that council can come up and load that rubbish and take it to the Namboro landfill. Anyway.
So as we speak, there are some high-risk areas
Yes.
which have been identified.
Yes.
Which areas are we talking about?
Edwin, I would not like to name any area, but I would generally would say the Lemi to Nasori corridor is the highest risk area in terms of very urbanized areas and pre-urban areas, including the informal settlements and parts of the Itoke villages and some settlements around this corridor. We also have similar trends of hotspots in the west, in the north. We have seen the urban areas and industrial commercial areas and peri-urban where densely populated residential areas are, including informal settlements and Itoke villages and some other settlements which are densely populated. And similar trend is also in the north. The low risk areas are mostly the farming areas and a little bit scattered populated areas, but that doesn't mean that these areas don't harbor these two mosquitoes. They are equally need to be cleaned, Edwin.
Okay, and with that we've come to the end of the segment. We'll take a break now. Stay with us. Bulavinaka, welcome back to the show. Our guests tonight are Deep Chand, the Chief Health Inspector with the Ministry of Health, and the Media Liaison Officer with the Ministry as well, Mr. Sunil Chandra. We're talking about the Fight the Bite campaign and the Clean Up Fiji campaign. Gentlemen, we've gone over some of the high-risk areas, Mr. Chandra, as you pointed out, densely populated. Does that mean that the majority of this breeding is caused by our lifestyle, because we litter and we create this environment that is conducive to breeding?
Exactly, Edwin. This is one of the cause of these breeding grounds is due to urbanization, and also you would like to say our lifestyle. We may be buying a lot of processed food and lot of things that we love to keep in our homes, and at the end of the day, when we discard them, we do not discard them properly, and then this becomes the source of mosquito breeding, including tires, cans, receptacles, bottles, plastic containers, and even gutters and flower bars within our premises. And we have also seen the coconut shells and other receptacles that can hold water, the white goods, especially discarded freezers, gas stoves, and other home appliances which can hold water. And these two species of mosquitoes, Edwin, it is thriving very well in our Fijian condition. And I mean to say that they can live, the egg can live or survive in very stringent conditions even. And as soon as it has conducive environment, as soon as it comes contact with some or little water, it starts to develop into pupa and larva in pupa in the adult stage. And another issue that I would like to bring here, that people may be thinking that we have done cleanup last month or the other week. This life cycle of this mosquito, the breeding is it's 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks, mostly 14 days. A mosquito can develop into an adult mosquito, and one female mosquito can lay an average of 200 to 400 eggs. So imagine if we have hundreds of mosquitoes laying eggs, how many thousands of mosquitoes one can produce. And then total life cycle of the adult mosquito is up to 21 to 30 days. So to get rid of one adult mosquito, it might average of 30 days it takes. So if we have left some containers or receptacles within a premises, and then within 2 weeks you can continue to have a breeding ground within your household. So it's a continuous process. It's not a one-off process that we have done a cleanup and we have tidied our house and everything. It's not that. We have to see that our own residential houses, our own towns and cities, our industrial commercial areas are continuously monitored for vector breeding grounds, mosquito breeding grounds, and it is continuously cleaned and taken care so that we can eradicate this issue of communicable disease such as Zika, chikungunya and dengue, Edwin.
Sunil, when we talk about advocacy and creating more awareness, are there any efforts to go into the schools and talk to children? Because a lot of the times children are responsible, for some of the litter, for some of the rubbish, and they can also be quite helpful in the cleanup effort as well. Are there any discussions along this line?
Yes, we have spread the message to the education department also, and they are also taking care. We have just recently so that some of the schools they are taking part in their own cleanup campaigns, and they have also promised to go. So it's like it's a multi-sectoral approach that we have come to. So what happens is that all people involved and all government departments that have come on board, they have taken this responsibility to their own respective ministry and own departments, where they have been advocating the same messages that we are doing from here. So it's all included all together.
Edwin, just to add on to what my colleague has said, we have a very good support from the Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education has issued an internal circular giving directive to all its school heads and committees to take care of their own premises within Fiji. And it has come on board, and we have very good support from Ministry of Education in terms of getting this cleanup campaign rolling on, especially within school premises and in any other premises they would like to. However, we also have a very good support from Prime Minister's office, Edwin, and then I think they have come on board and they are taking areas as allocated in our micro plan. We have also been encouraging to see the Labour Department has already come on board, Ministry of Labour. We have seen Ministry of Fisheries and Forest has come on board in terms of inquiring and forming the team. Where do we need to do this cleanup? So there are other Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development and NDMO's office, they are on board. Ministry of Industry and Trade and Tourism are on board. And we have seen the Ministry of Local Government is also one of our key stakeholders, and other relevant agencies like UNDP has also indicated their support in this cleanup campaign. And just yesterday we had another workshop on the faith-based organizations and other stakeholders, and all of them have given a very good support in terms of how they can come on board and take care of their areas that they belong to.
Is the mosquito population at a concerning level right now? Is it something that we should be alarmed about?
At the moment, it is alarming. It is the density of adult mosquito is quite high. However, we have little bit shy of relief, as I would like to mention here, that we are proceeding into a colder season, sort of like winter for Fiji. During a little bit colder season, the multiplication or the breeding rate of these mosquitoes are little bit disturbed, or the rate is little bit lower than what we expect in summer and hot seasons. So this is a very good opportune time for us to eradicate all the breeding grounds and get rid of all the breeding grounds. And as soon as we enter into the summer or the rainy season, that's the time we are already prepared for the any higher breeding or expectation of any communicable disease during that time. So we will gradually expect a decrease of adult mosquito density until this cooler season is. So that's why we need to eradicate their breeding grounds. So as we enter the summer, there is no breeding grounds, so we will eventually expect no mosquitoes.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of another segment. Stay with us, we'll be back shortly. Good evening, welcome back to For the Record. We're talking about national efforts to eradicate mosquito breeding grounds and to reduce the mosquito population in Fiji in efforts to reduce communicable diseases, namely dengue fever, chikungunya and Zika. Our guests tonight are Mr. Deep Chand, the Chief Health Inspector at the Ministry of Health, and Mr. Sunil Chandra, the Media Liaison Officer, also with the Ministry of Health. When we talk about the diseases, dengue fever, chikungunya, and Zika, are we okay right now? Because we've started to act, we are getting these mosquito breeding places removed. Should we be concerned about any outbreaks in any of these diseases?
Edwin, I would not expect to see or to be a concern at the moment. We are quite okay with the efforts that we have put in place so far, and we are very optimistic that with the consolidated effort of the community in terms of eradicating the breeding grounds of these mosquitoes, we will not have any sort of a major health issue that we people might expect. But we want to inform the general public that these diseases are present locally in Fiji. It's in local circulation at the moment. So this is the right time that we need to act. We need to get together and put all our efforts together to fight against this bite campaign that we have put in. And the best cure or best prevention medicine is to prevent the breeding grounds of these mosquitoes, so that we don't have to worry about any diseases in terms of these mosquitoes that would like to spread.
Why not just run national spraying campaigns and kill all the mosquitoes there?
Okay.
No need for cleanup.
Thank you, Edwin. Spraying using chemicals is a issue that would like to bring to the attention of the general public, that any particular time people would like to see that the spraying is done to get what you call piecemeal solutions to the adult mosquito population that we have, a quick response to getting rid of. But one thing the people need to understand, that chemical is also not very good in terms of spraying and polluting our environment with all sorts of chemicals that we would not like to spray. However, these chemicals end up in the environment. It erodes into the streams, rivers, creeks, and somehow the other it can come back through the food chain. And the other risk is that mosquitoes, overspraying the mosquitoes, can also develop resistance, and then we will have no other chemical to get rid of it. So that's why we only use or always recommend for chemical spraying when we are in disaster mode or we are in an outbreak mode, which we are not at the moment. So however, after this cleanup campaign, the spraying will be eventually done to see that whatever adult population mosquito is around, we need to eliminate them so that we have a successful cleanup campaign followed by the spraying.
As I understand, spraying itself only kills adult mosquitoes.
Yes.
It doesn't take care of the larva.
Edwin, the spraying only kills the adult mosquitoes. The larva that is being already laid, the eggs that has been laid, which has formed into larva or pupa, that doesn't, it is not killed by the chemicals that we have at the moment. So we have to understand that we have to, if we spray, we'll only get rid of the adult mosquitoes, whatever we target. We may not get rid of those mosquitoes which may be hiding elsewhere, or we may be hiding somewhere else. So there is always a likelihood of that we may not eradicate 100% of the adult mosquitoes. But the source, the root cause problem is the breeding grounds, where we need to concentrate. If we don't have breeding grounds, the mosquitoes will not be able to lay their eggs, and there will be no adult mosquito. So that's why our focus is getting or eliminate all their breeding grounds. That's a root cause problem. So if we have a clean Fiji, if we have no breeding grounds for mosquitoes, we will have no adult mosquitoes. Eventually there will be no need for spraying. Edwin.
You were also telling me earlier that these mosquitoes are quite tough in some instance, some senses of the word.
Yes, Edwin. Aedes albopictus is a very thriving mosquito. This can survive in very stringent conditions. Even some of the eggs that is found can stay there or for months, and even a small drop of water or liquid, it can develop into a pupa and larva and a pupa.
So I mean, just so that we're clear, the egg will not it will be in a stagnant state in dry conditions, waiting for water.
Yes, in so many conditions we call it becomes dormant, meaning that it remains as it is. So as soon as it finds a little bit of water, then it starts to develop. In many cases, it can develop, especially the albopictus species. However, albopictus is also a very dominant mosquito over Aedes aegypti. So it can take over Aedes aegypti because it thrives. It can live in very adverse conditions, as I have said.
June 16th is when the campaign sort of wraps up, and we hope to have completed the national cleanup campaign. But how do you monitor this, and how do you decide whether enough has been done?
Thank you, Edwin. We have our own monitoring and evaluation process in place. That is what we do in terms of larval surveys. We have monthly larval surveys in all districts, including the rural areas and the municipal council areas. And apart from that, we have sentinel surveys. Our sentinel surveys are in central, western, and the northern divisions for these hot spots. So we do it quarterly for Fiji. So we had done one in April, one in February, one in April after the post-disaster cleanup. And then the indices that I'll be talking on it's quite alarming. It was quite high. We understand that after any disaster, we will always expect a lot of breeding grounds being created for these mosquitoes. So the April sentinel survey indicated very high Bruto index. Bruto index is a measure where we measure the positive containers where the mosquitoes of Aedes aegypti and albopictus, their larvae were found. So Bruto index, anything above 20 is very alarming. So most of these districts that we surveyed had a very alarming rate, and that's why that index triggered us to call for a national cleanup campaign so that we do not end up into any outbreaks, Edwin.
Okay, and with that we've come to the end of yet another segment. We'll be back shortly as we wrap up for this evening. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on For the Record. We're just about to complete tonight's show, but we still have our guests with us. Sunil, people who are watching the show tonight who want to get on board with the campaign, but they need more information, what avenues do they have available? Who can they get in touch with?
Yes, they can, first of all, they can contact the health departments all over the subdivisions. We have our health inspectors. They can also go to the town councils, and we have also got the messages there. And at the same time, they can contact me through phone, whose my numbers are 8905053. They can contact me, or they can contact my colleague Evelyn on 9904-134, or contact the health ministry as a whole, and they can any information that you need, any queries that you have, we will be able to clear that up.
Of course, and the whole idea is that people should be should have information readily available in regards to the cleanup and the risk.
Definitely, and those, and another thing I've just forgot to mention was there on our website we have all these informations going on Facebook. We are on all the events that have been covered, that have been put on public advocacy. It's on Facebook, on our website, and through all the media. So the information is readily available. But if you still have queries to make, you can contact us through our headquarters.
Okay, and Mr. Chand, just as we wrap up, we've been talking about dengue and chikungunya and Zika, which are the three most focal points for the ministry. What are some of the signs that people should look for? Because a lot of times we've discovered that people believe they have the flu or some minor disease, and they don't go to the doctor in time. Because we're talking about cleanup and eradicating these mosquito breeding places, let's talk a bit about the risks which exist.
Yeah, the signs and symptoms for this disease are very similar, Edwin, and they'll have a acute fever. They'll also have headaches, nausea, at times maybe vomiting also, and also for Zika they might also have red eyes, like conjunctivitis, and for chikungunya they also might have a rash, like reddish appearance on their bodies. But mostly for these three diseases, the signs and symptoms are very common, and sometimes it becomes a little bit difficult to for the physicians and doctors to see what is the right cause of the problem. So that's why it's very important for the people, those who have fever or any signs and symptoms of dengue-like illness or Zika-like illness or chikungunya-like illness, to present themselves as early as possible to the health facility and get the advice from the doctors, so that they can give the correct advice and treatment that is needed. Though there is no treatment for these diseases, but the doctors are the right people to give a correct advice to people. We would encourage the general public not to stay home, but to seek medical advice as soon as they develop any of these signs and symptoms, Edwin.
It's better to be safe
yes,
than to be
yes,
sorry
yes.
in
Thank
all
you.
senses.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we've come to the end of our show this evening. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on For the Record, and best of luck with the cleanup campaign. We hope that it's a success, and that we as responsible media have been able to help tonight in getting the message across.
Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was For the Record for this evening. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, you can email us fortherecord@fpc.com.fj. Up next is the My Say segment with Nemani Ndela Mbatiki. From me for tonight, good evening. I'll see you next Sunday.